Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sharisha, and on this channel I'm going to be sharing my life and career journey because your girl has decided that she is leaving London in the UK and I'm going off to a new destination. I'm not going to tell you guys yet because I want to keep it as a little bit of a surprise. But don't forget to subscribe, like and comment below. Maybe what country do you think I'm going to? Let's see who's going to get it right. And tell me if you found this video useful as well. So let's get into today's video. So today I wanted to share some of my tips and advice on things that you need to consider before making that move, because you know it doesn't just happen overnight. There are things that you need to think about. You need to do your homework. You know, there's things that you need to consider because Rome was really not built in a day. And I know for us, you know, we had to do a lot of planning and thinking, and it's taken some months to really start getting the ball rolling. And yeah, I mean, it's been a bit easier because two heads are better than one. The responsibility shared, so we're able to lean on each other, but it is still a big move. And yeah, I wanted to share kind of the things that we've had to think about and things that we've had to do as well to make this transition as smooth as possible, because as we know, life does happen and you can't always control everything. So my first tip would be to do your homework about that country. So if you are fortunate to visit, I would really advise you visit, because I know for me, I can't just make decisions based off on assumptions, and things always look good on paper, but when it comes to the reality of it, it's a total different kettle of fish. So visit that country, but whilst you're visiting that country, you really need to think about what your day-to-day life would be like whilst living in that destination. Because when we're on holiday and we're in holiday mode, every day is like an adventure. We want to enjoy ourselves because we've got like X amount of days in this place, we've spent our money, we want to, you know, live our best lives. But when you're living somewhere, it is just totally different. Like in London, I don't always go to tourist attractions, I don't always go out to restaurants to eat. I go to the supermarket, I go to the market, I cook at home, I also go to work, you know. So when you're on holiday, like, you have to really be thinking about, okay, right now I'm doing these kind of things, but day to day, what would my life look like, me and my family? Like what would it be like traveling up and down, going to work, going to school, doing your shopping, all these kind of things. And you need to look at like those amenities as well, like what area do I want to live in, how much is it going to be to rent, what schools are good for my kids, like hospital care, all these kind of things. Like in London, especially in the UK, we're very fortunate we have the NHS. Not every country is the same, so you will need to look into those kind of things, especially when, you know, it comes down to those emergency situations. You need to make sure that everything's in hand. My second tip would be thinking about your finances. Like, money makes the world go round. We have to have money in this world to survive. Like,
oh, well, in this life, have money or you go suffer.
I wish it grew on trees. Like, literally you could go outside and pull money from the tree, but it doesn't. So you need to think about your finances. Like, are you going to be working in that country, and what's the process like to get a job? Will you need things like a visa to be able to work? So what will it look like in terms of renting? How much is it going to cost you for accommodation? What is it going to be like if my kids have to go to school? Because again, in the UK, we're quite fortunate. Literally from nursery up to college, we get free state education. That's not the case in every country. So you really need to think about those kind of things, especially when you've got dependents. And another thing you need to think about as well in terms of finances, if you are choosing not to work, then how much do you need to save to be able to survive in that country? And yeah, I mean, that can take some time. So money is a very important element, especially if you are traveling for a long period of time. So if you're only looking to go somewhere maybe for a couple of months, it might be okay. But if you're going for like a year, plus, then yeah, you really need to start doing some, calculations to make sure that this move is affordable for you. So my third tip is, where are you going to live? Like I mentioned before, you need money, but then you need to figure out where you're going to live, because are you going to rent? Are you going to buy? Are you going to build even? Because depending on what country you're going to, there might be opportunity to buy land and to build something of your own. And you've got to think about these kind of things. We're very blessed in the sense where we already have accommodation which is paid for. We won't be renting. We just literally have to pay our bills, like gas, electric, those kind of things. So that takes a lot of stress off of us. But for some people, they're not in that privileged position. So you really need to look into that. And different countries have different rules as well. Some places may need you to pay X amount of months, years in advance for rent. And those are things you really have to consider. And as well, being someone from a westernized country, you want to ensure that the location is really conducive for you. So when I say that, I mean, where are your local supermarkets? Like, when you need to travel around, like, do you want to be quay in, I don't know, the mountains or the valley or something, and then you can't get to the local shop? Or do you get what I mean? So it's about those conveniences, because we're very lucky in the West, like especially living in London, like most things are on our doorstep. Like literally, when you go down the road, there's a newsagent on every corner, there's food shops, there's, we have Deliveroo, we have Uber Eats, all these things. So when you're thinking about those things, if they're really important to you, you need to consider that when you're thinking of your accommodation and your location. So my fourth tip would be mode of transportation. Like when you're going to live somewhere, how are you going to get around? Do you need to think about buying a car? Do you need to think about maybe getting local transportation? How much does that cost? What does all of that look like? Like, are you going to be using taxis a lot? Like, all of those things are really important, because for me, living in London, I drive. It's very convenient for me because I drive to work and those kind of things. When I'm ready to go out, I drive. So that's something that we've had to think about where we're moving to. Do we need to get a car? Like, will we be using local transportation? And it doesn't always work like that. But straight away, we're not actually going to get a car. We're going to think about getting a car when we get there. So yeah, that's kind of what we've decided. Like when we get there, we're going to look into getting a car and we will take it from there. But even when it comes to even getting a car, it's just a different system. Like where we're going to, we don't have the same privileges as we do here. So here, if you've got good credit, you can literally go to a dealer and get a brand new car. Obviously you would have to pay a deposit and stuff like that, and they do a credit check, as I mentioned. But where we're going to, credit is not the way it is in the West. So a lot of the time you have to put quite heavy lump sums of money down. So that's something you really have to think about as well. Like if you've got children as well, and getting on a bus or taxis all the time is not going to work for you. You will have to look into what kind of transportation you're going to use. So my fifth tip is your travel documentation. Like I mentioned, if you're going to work somewhere, you may need visas. But even when you're not going to work there, some countries just require you, for traveling's sake, to have a visa. So you need to look into the visa application process. Obviously, we're in a pandemic, so you need to consider what their COVID regulations are, how all that works, because a lot of places require you to take COVID tests 72 hours before flying. Some places, when you get there, you have to take a COVID test again, and these again are all costs. So these are really things that you have to look into, and if there's a couple of you traveling, it can be quite a costly thing to do. So definitely make sure you check the embassy's websites for the country that you're going to. Some people, if you're linked to that place through your parents, you might want to look into getting a passport, so you might use dual citizenship. But again, really research into that, because when you travel off of a different passport to the country that you're born in, you are then going to be treated as a citizen of that country. So if I have a Jamaican passport and I have my UK passport, and I decide from London I'm going to use my Jamaican passport, then if anything happens in Jamaica whilst I'm there, like a natural disaster, war, those kind of things, the UK embassy could say to me, because I travelled on my Jamaican documentation, they don't have any liability to evacuate me out of that country. So you really have to look into the pros and cons of traveling on your dual citizenship and which one you're going to choose to use, and if it benefits you whilst you're going to be living in that country. So definitely check out the embassy's website. But I think, you know, it is beneficial to have a passport for your place of birth, but again, you need to do your homework. And my final tip is you have to do what's best for you. There will be so many people that will tell you, are you sure? What are you going to do there? What are you going to do for money? If it doesn't work out, listen.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, sweetheart. Don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Like I said, we live this life once. Life is short. Let's get it. Do you, boo. Don't worry about what people say, because literally when you're out there and you're living and you're doing your thing and you're building yourself, people are going to come later and say, oh yeah, I knew you could have done it. And even if it doesn't work out the way you want to, the point is you had a desire in your heart and you did it anyway. Like, there's so many people in life, they have dreams and desires. They're in the grave with those dreams and desires and gifts and talents, or they're miserable. So for me, I'm like, live your life, do your thing. And yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. And just remember guys, life is short. Let's get it. And I'll see you in my next video.